Because Android has many versions and constant updates, it's very complicated for games to always stay up to date on the platform, but that's not the only reason. There are also fan games and even discontinued games, and of course we're going to talk about all of them here in this video, top 15 games outside the Play Store that are perfect, so drop a like and come with me. Let's start with a pixel survival game on Android that I honestly have no idea why it's not on the Play Store, and its name is Surviving Titan. You wake up on the planet Titan after your ship crashes. With amnesia and only a basic survival kit, you're accompanied by a small helper robot. Your main goal is to explore the planet, find other survivors, and uncover the mysteries of this world in an attempt to escape. You need to manage your hunger, thirst, and energy. Unlike some hardcore survival games, there's no permanent death here. You only lose a few items, which I honestly liked a lot. Unlike many survival games where you're completely alone, in Surviving Titan you can find other survivors scattered across the map. You can recruit them and complete various missions that they give you. As I mentioned before, it might be a mobile port or even a fan game, I'm not entirely sure. Now let's talk about a Pokemon style MMORPG that truly delivers everything, a game that comes very close to being perfect, and its name is SPELLBORNE. The game puts you in the role of one of 3 starting hunters in an open world called Yorokobi. Your mission is to explore the map, capture magical creatures, complete quests, and interact with other players in a massive multiplayer environment. The core of the game is finding wild monsters and capturing them for your team. Just like in Pokemon, beyond battles, you can also grow crops and gather resources across the map to craft useful items. I believe this game might not be on the Play Store because it has some connection to NFTs, but since I don't really know much about that, I can't say for sure. The game is free to play and you can enjoy the full experience without ever touching cryptocurrencies or NFTs if you don't want to. This one is pretty obvious why it's not on the Play Store, but without a doubt it's one of the most impressive fan games I've ever seen. Let's talk about Sonic Time Twisted. The game takes place in an alternate timeline after the events of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Dr. Eggman is presumed dead after the destruction of the Death Egg. However, Metal Sonic reappears on Little Planet with a plan to resurrect his creator using the power of the Time Stones. To obtain the Chaos Emeralds, you enter special 3D stages that feel like a race against Metal Sonic, inspired by the special stages from Sonic CD and Sonic Advance 2. There are 8 original zones such as Attraction Attack and Frigid Fortress, each with 2 acts and creative boss fights. The most impressive part is that it's non-profit, yet it's so well made that I would easily pay for it. Well, this one is a funny case because it's a new original game from Sony, but it hasn't been released in all countries yet. Let's talk about Ratchet and Clank Mobile. Unlike the traditional platform games from the console series, this one is a free-to-play multiplayer arena shooter, and it's one of Sony's first mobile exclusive games. The game focuses on fast competitive matches with 3 main modes that are fairly generic, such as Team Deathmatch and even a more esports style mode. You can unlock and upgrade around 10 different heroes, each with their own special ultimate ability. Interestingly, Ratchet and Rivet aren't the only protagonists you play, as various recruits from across the galaxy. Even if the game doesn't show up for you on the Play Store, you can still play it normally by downloading it from the internet or through TapTap, which is super easy to use. Another game on our list where it's easy to understand why it's not on the Play Store, let's talk about the MMORPG called Pokemon Blaze Online. Like the official games from Nintendo, PBO is an online open world where you can see other trainers walking around the map in real time. The game mixes well-known regions from the original games with custom regions created by the developers themselves. To make the experience more strategic and challenging, you can't use healing items like potions during battles against trainers and NPCs. The game already includes Pokemon and mechanics from the 9th generation, including Mega Evolutions and regional forms. From my research, the game is still active and has players up to the time of this video. However, it's the kind of game that could disappear at any moment due to a possible legal action from Nintendo. But until that happens, it's an excellent Pokemon MMORPG. This is one of those cases where a game ends up being forgotten, no longer updated, and eventually becomes obsolete, but of course you can still play it. Let's talk about MAZEMAN. game is a fast-paced infinite maze experience. Your basic objective is to enter a procedurally generated map, find the key and reach the exit before time runs out or the monsters catch you. The game is kind of like an improved Pac-Man. You can't stop moving your character and you need to grab time stop power-ups in order to defeat enemies. Everything feels a bit more thought out and refined. What really keeps the game interesting is its unlockable character system. There are around 24 heroes and each one drastically changes the way you play. I don't know exactly what happened, but the game was removed from the Play Store. I wouldn't say it's the most genius game in the world, but it's definitely interesting and surprisingly complete. This game really had the potential to become one of the best-selling titles on the Play Store, but for some reason it ended up being removed as well. Let's talk about JACKQuEST. Jack and his girlfriend Nara are out on a walk through the forest when she's kidnapped by the evil orc Korg. While trying to rescue her, Jack falls into an underground cave and encounters Kuro, a sentient sword that will help him on this journey. Unlike massive games like Hollow Knight, JACKQuEST is often called a mini Metroidvania because exploration is much more limited here. It also leans heavily toward being an adventure and platformer based on its systems. The game features battles against colossal bosses that require you to learn attack patterns and use your movement abilities with precision. JACKQuEST is very straightforward, a mini Metroidvania with platforming elements, but one that manages to be very fun. Hollow Knight on Android is a very curious case. It doesn't have an official version on the Google Play Store, but there is an unofficial port, and that's what we're talking about now. Since Team Cherry never released the game for mobile devices, a community developer known as Dan, along with other groups, ported the original PC code, which was made in Unity to run natively on Android. Even though it's fan-made, the level of polish is professional. It includes gamepad support, 120 FPS support, multiple language translations, and honestly feels like the kind of game that could be released on the Play Store and sell extremely well. Is it worth it? Yes, it's considered one of the best fan-made ports in Android history. If you have a mid-range or powerful phone, the experience is identical to playing on a Nintendo Switch. Maybe this is another game that was originally meant to come to Android but ended up being discontinued. Let's talk about Green Project. You play as an astronaut who was forgotten in space for 300 years in a cryogenic state. When you return to Earth, you discover that the planet has been devastated by a toxic fungal pandemic. Your goal isn't just to survive but to reforest the world. Unlike other games where you only consume resources, here you must green the environment to reduce toxicity and bring biodiversity back. You need to manage hunger, thirst and energy. The game is quite difficult since a single mistake in your garden can literally kill you. Because the earth is essentially dead, the composting and fertilization systems are essential to turn toxic soil into fertile land. I don't know exactly what the differences are between this Android port and the original version, but from what I played, it felt like a normal, complete game. Another game from the same developer we talked about earlier with MAZEMAN is yet another title that disappeared from the Play Store. Let's talk about EXILES Far Colony. This is an open-world action RPG that tries to bring the experience of games like Mass Effect or Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic to mobile. You play as a character living in a distant colony on an alien planet. A corrupt government is trying to enslave the population using a deadly virus, and it's up to you to stop it. The game is focused on pure exploration. You can choose between 3 character classes, use jetpacks, and take advantage of movement systems that make traversal much smoother and more dynamic. For its time, when it launched back in 2015, the game was very interesting and maybe even ahead of its time. It's a shame that today it's basically forgotten. This is a game that manages to mix a lot of action with tower defense, and I also don't know why it never officially released on Android. Let's talk about DWERVE. You play as DWERVE, a young dwarf living in a world where his race was forced to move underground to escape monsters. Unlike the traditional warriors of his people, DWERVE doesn't fight using brute strength alone, but instead relies on lost technology. He discovers ancient towers and traps created by his ancestors and decides to invade old ruins to recover what's left of his culture and defend his people against hordes of trolls and dark elves. DWERVE carries multiple towers and traps with him. As you move through the map and enemies start to appear, you need to quickly place your defenses to stop them from getting close. The game is available through TapTap or even through the well-known APK route. Maybe this is the most complete game on the list and also the one with the least explanation for why it never came to the Play Store. Let's talk about Delight: The Journey Home. You play as Sammy, a young girl who became blind due to an accident caused by a civil war in her city. After being separated from her parents and losing her grandfather, she must cross a dangerous conflict zone in an attempt to reunite with her family. The screen is mostly dark, the world only appears around Sammy through her other senses and with the help of her guide dog. A large part of the gameplay involves hiding from soldiers and other dangers using sound cues and the dog's guidance to survive. The game is available both via APK and through TapTap. To be honest, I'm not sure if this is a PC to mobile port or the other way around, but without a doubt it's the game with the best story so far. DEADKING is one of the most ambitious survival projects on Android in 2025. It gained a lot of attention for trying to bring the hardcore PC survival experience to mobile, similar to games like DayZ or Escape from Tarkov. The game is an open-world survival simulator set in a zombie apocalypse. This is not an arcade-style action game, it's focused on realism and immersion. The map is vast, featuring urban areas, forests, and industrial zones, all fully explorable on foot or with vehicles. Combat is slow and dangerous. Both zombies and human NPCs can kill you very quickly if you don't use cover and proper strategy. This might be the only game on our list that could eventually make its way to the Play Store. However, the game is a passion project led by a single main developer, so it may still take quite a long time. Crash Back in Time is not an official game from Activision, but it's one of the most impressive fan games ever created in the Crash Bandicoot universe, and let's talk about it now. As the title suggests, the game uses a time travel theme similar to Crash Bandicoot 3 Warp. Dr. Neo Cortex is once again trying to take over the world using a time machine, and Crash must travel through different eras to collect crystals and gems to stop him. The first time I played this game, I honestly thought it was just a mobile port of an existing Crash game. That's how impressive it is. It features virtual buttons that mimic the layout of a PlayStation controller. However, it also supports Bluetooth controllers, which makes the experience much better. Because it's a fan game, and to avoid copyright issues with Activision, it's not available on the Play Store. The game is distributed for free. And that was 15 games outside the Play Store. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and comment which game surprised you the most. See you in the next one.